Good morning, class. I think you're going to enjoy today's lesson. We are continuing with our study on fractions. We have learned how to identify fractions. We've learned how to set fractions up. It's just the numerator is always on the top, denominator is on the bottom. We've even learned how to simplify fractions. Cindy, I have 2/4 here on the board. Can you tell me what 2/4 will simplify down to? Or is it in its simplest form? Cindy says 1/2. What do you think, guys? Is she right? She is right. Very good. Today, we're going to be adding fractions and taking fractions away. So when you think about fractions, they're really just pieces or parts of a whole. And what does that mean, part of a whole? Well, let's take our Hershey bar, for example. 12 squares equals 1 bar. Now take a look at this one. We only have 5 squares. So if I wanted to make a fraction out of this candy bar, what is left, how would I do that? Well, we have our 12. We have 5 pieces out of that 12, so it's 5/12, 5/12. Now look at this one. There's only 3. Now how would we express that one as a fraction? It'd be the same way. You have 3 squares out of your 12. Now let's say I wanted to put all the squares back and find the fraction of the whole bar. Think we can do that? Think so. Let's put our 5 over here. And our 3. And since we have a common denominator of 12 for all 3 of them, we simply can add our 5 squares and our 3 squares. And that gives us how much over 12? 8. Very good. 8/12. So what that last example showed us is that we can add fractions by simply adding the 2 numerators as long as they have the same denominator. So I want you to write these 2 formulas in your notes for the addition and the subtraction. And as we're doing that, I am going to use the numbers that we figured on our Hershey's, and we're going to replace those letters with numbers. So, we know that 12 is our common denominator. Our A was our 5. Our B was our 3rd candy bar. And so we are just going to move our denominator over, since it's all the same, and we have 5 plus 3 over 12, and you're going to have 8/12. And that is what we figured on the Hershey's. Now with subtraction, it's the same concept. The only difference is instead of adding, you're subtracting. So let's say we want to use these same numbers again. We know 12, common denominator. We have 5 and 3. So we carry our 12 over. We will have 5 minus 3, which equals 2/12. And if we want to go ahead and simplify them, since we're working on that as well, what would 8/12 be reduced down to, Kevin? 4/3. Very good. And 2/12, Cindy, what would we have? 1/6. Very good. Okay. You guys are good at this. So, again, we were able to simply add our numerators together of both fractions because we had the express and shown fractions. We have our long form Then if you look at our anchor chart this week, we have got the adding and the subtracting using the grid and the 10 base card, 10 base. So let's look at this right here. We have this equation is 2 over 9 plus 4 over 9 equals 6 over 9. So what we have done is we have made one square. We have divided it up into 9 parts, and there's 2 shaded. So that tells us that we have 2 out of 9 that are shaded. Then we have our plus. Then our next fraction, we do the same thing. We draw the square, divide it out by 9, and this time we're going to color 1, 2, 3, 4. And that gives us our fraction, 4 over 9. Equals 6 over 9. We have, again, our square, divide it out into 9 pieces, and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 over 9 gives us the answer. And if we wanted to simplify that down, what would 6 over 9 be? Okay. 2 over 3. Very good. Okay. Y'all are just doing excellent. Now, are y'all ready to try to solve some fractions? Okay. I've got 2 fractions here on the board. I want you to take your whiteboards and your marker and copy down the equation and then your answer, the equal sign. The first one is 6 over 7 plus 2 over 7 equals. The next is 12 over 13 minus 1 over 13 equals. And when you get the answer and you're completely done, I want you to flip your whiteboard over so I'll know that you're ready. Right, looks like everybody is ready. Now everyone hold up your whiteboards and let's see if we all got the same answer. Very good. Nice job. So when we're thinking about adding fractions and subtracting fractions, how can we simply add our numerators? What must we have to simply add? Cindy says a common denominator. Is that correct? Very good. Okay, you guys are doing great. Now, this is the time that I had an activity set up. But it takes a little while to do this one. And it uses M&Ms, and what you do, the first thing you do is you're going to guess how many M&Ms are in the package, and you put your number here. Then the second, you're actually going to open up the package, and you're going to count them, and see, I said 18, 17. Then the fractions come in step 3, because then it wants to know how many reds out of your total, how many yellows. And it takes you on down to step 4, where you had to tell what color has the largest fraction and which color had the smallest fraction. And then it goes on to the second page, and now you're supposed to eat one M&M, one color of each M&M, and then count how many you have left. And then you do the same thing. You say how many reds out of I said 15, reds out of 15, the yellows, and you go down and you answer these 2 questions. If you give 2 red M&Ms to your teacher, what fraction of your remaining M&Ms will be red? And then, of course, your next question. And you go on down to step 8, and I think step 8 is probably the favorite one because it says now you can eat your M&Ms. And I would probably do this one with partners, two together, working on this together as an activity.
We could do it as a whole class, but I think this would be a good activity to do in a group for 2 people.
Discuss that one. So it looks like everybody has finished with their activity. Now I want you to think, when am I ever going to use fractions? Where do you use fractions in the real world? Well, I will tell you, and a lot of you may not have even thought of these, but we do use fractions a lot. Our first example is for discounts. Have you ever been to a retail store at the end of summer and you see half off everything? Well, then fractions are used in your discount signs. There are also fractions in construction. If you notice, the wood at the bottom is measured out in fractions. So it would be kind of bad if you didn't know how to do your fractions and you were a construction worker. Do you think you would pick the right board? I don't know. So that's important. And another one that's very important that we usually probably would not even think of is marathon. When you run the half mile, you run the quarter of a mile, it's all fractions. And these are just examples of how we use them. And just, these are 3 out of many. So they are useful. And also, I have a song here. I'm not actually going to sing it for you, but this is a song called Adding and Subtracting Fractions. And since I can't play it on the YouTube, I printed out the lyrics so you can take them home. You can sing them to your mom, sing them to your dad, but I do like the chorus of it. I'm not going to sing it, but it goes, find the least common multiple. That's the first action. Next is finding equivalent fractions. Then do the addition or subtraction. Simplify like an automatic reaction. That is too cool. So I want you to go home and just kind of, read over it, because this is very good when you're trying to remember how to do the least common denominator. Right there, it's right there in the song. So I am going to have Cindy pass these out for me. You can take these home. Thank you, Cindy. And as Cindy is passing that out, we have got worksheet. This is a fun worksheet that we're going to do because it's a riddle. And the way you solve it is you've got to solve all of the equations. There's fractions where you add and fractions where you subtract. Kind of got to get the right answers, because down here in the key, it gives you the answer and the letter. So wherever you have like number 6, whatever answer you got in number 6, you look at it down here, and then you put that letter down at the bottom where it says 6. And you do that for all the problems, and you fill all that out, and it is how to solve the riddle. And I'm going to read the riddle real fast. It says, what did one keyboard say to another keyboard? Yes, okay. This shouldn't take very long. And I'll kind of walk around and make sure that we're all getting this, but you guys are good. Kevin, can you pass these out for me? Thank you. Okay, it looks like everybody is done. Very good. Very good. I didn't fill mine in, but let's see. Did you solve the riddle? What did one keyboard say to another keyboard? You're not my type. You're not my type. That was the riddle. That's cute. I'm gonna have you pass these forward, and I will look over them and make sure that you guys have really got this down real good. Okay, and as y'all are doing that, I just wanna close and say that we have learned a lot about fractions this week. We have learned how to simplify them. We've learned how to identify them. Now we know how to add and subtract fractions with the common denominators, which is, Kevin, how do we add fractions with common denominators? You just add the numerators and they go. Very good. They go right up the denominator. So, if you think about the posters that I showed you, the marathons, the construction, and many more discounts, there are so many ways that we use fractions, and they are important. And I want you to go home. I've got the Twizzlers here. I give each of you, and I want you to try to figure out how in the world we're going to use Twizzlers for our next fraction assignment. All right, the bell is about to ring. Thank you, guys. We will see you tomorrow, and we will continue to discuss fractions. Thank you. Bye-bye. So, the common denominator